If I could tell my younger self.
If I could tell my younger self that everyone struggles with the parcel shelf and not to fret about the weight in the yard and the mechanic's tut whilst MOTing the car.
If I could tell younger me to at least have a think about hugging a tree and not to get transfixed gossiping at gates and make better excuses for not seeing my mates.
If I could tell the younger lass to not get too caught up on fads, but make sure one of them is fags and ditch the drinks before the room spins black. I'm not quite sure I'd be interested.
If I could sit with the younger self, to lecture and leer at little me, and tell her all the things I'm not supposed to be, then we both have wasting time in common. Because to talk with a superior tone about how you should make life's content align, that is merely a condescending drone.
She who walks above others, barking what they should have done, is just a lonely stroller in a hall vacuumed of fun. There is no preparation for the ups and downs of being a sapien, apart from maybe a paper round in the north of England.
No. If I could tell my younger self, I'd say, don't listen to me, your head, or what falls through your ear, because you'll only become stuck in the rut of what you most hear. That's it. I think I'll stick with that. Or maybe actually, I'd remind me as a kid not to forget to say I love you, Dad.
Or buy Mum flowers even when it's not her birthday. Just to say, yes, that's it. That's what I tell my younger self. I love you.
Love you.
If I could tell my younger self.
If I could tell my younger self anything, I'd tell her to trust her instincts. I would tell her that deep down she knows the right thing to do, and that being little and nice should not mean compromising what she knows to be true. Don't be such a pushover. It's one thing to do generous good deeds for the older members of the family, things that help instill a sense of care in the community, but to go weak at the knees and swoon dutifully over the first of the male species to approach you. For fuck's sake. You should have known better than to find catcalling and wolf whistling an appropriate and flattering form of flirtation. Hello? Ever heard about dominance and manipulation of the power dynamics of the patriarchy? Duh. I'd ask her why she felt the need to deviate from the path. Her path. The one that was formed from what she wanted. Why she felt pressured to perform acts of femininity to impress a man who paid her the slightest bit of attention instead of following her heart. Opening up, being vulnerable, telling the truth, and picking fucking flowers. Why pretend to be the perfect fairy tale girl to fulfill everyone's expectations and live the story when all you want to do is pull your hood up over your head and hide? I guess it was a case of being too wrapped up and too involved to see clearly, unable to see the wood for the trees. If I could tell my younger self anything, it would be to look after her family, herself. Prioritise her, us. Stop worrying about what other people think and get a backbone. Spend more time with grandparents. Don't wait until they're ill to claw back time with them. Don't wait until they're unrecognisable and small, tucked in bed, forgetting what their eyes look like when they smile. Don't wait just to be a knock on the door, a visitor at a bedside. Don't wait. Create stories, tales. Don't just read them, but live them. Your story. Write memories, not eulogies. I'd also tell her that things get better. Her story continues and she gets to rewrite her ending. Oh, and that red really isn't her colour. Not so little Red Riding Hood.
If I could tell my younger self,
If I could tell my younger self. Right now you believe that time heals nothing. It simply creates a space between now and then to fill things with, until the then can only be seen on tiptoe. The world becomes a blurry blend of platitudes and bullshit. You've been called positive and happy at the times you've most wanted to peel off your own skin and just escape yourself. You get through each day and then lie awake each night, trying to postpone tomorrow. You watch yourself fading away and wonder if you'll recognise what's left. Never underestimate the power of denial. When your heart lies in shards amongst the debris of your mental health, denial spreads a light, flimsy cloth over all. A vacuum within a cushion on which to rest. Just for a while. A beautiful, colourful tableau from afar, but come close and you'll see a truth of blood-red wine stains and smouldering holes from too many cigarette butts. And you crave silence. But when it comes, it is filled with a hurt that screams more loudly than you ever could, and you are trapped inside a shell that wears my face. And you need them to come close enough to know. But you can only show them this by pushing them away. But I want to tell my younger self that time heals all things. The empty space expands and is filled. The scars fade to imprints of the past on my skin and under it. Even the strongest and bravest can't run forever. Eventually you have to look yourself in the eye and tell her you'll be okay. And eventually she'll begin to believe you.
If I could tell you how bad it gets, I wouldn't. If I could lay out all the tragedies, all the mistakes, all the pain and suffer you'll spread, I wouldn't. If I could warn you of every misstep, all the sleeping minds, I wouldn't. Because warnings stop you hoping, kid. And hope is a minefield. That's just the way it is. But trust me, the heart can weather any storm. Yours will. The soul can shine through any darkness. Yours will. So keep on hoping, regardless of what's to come, regardless of whether these are just the well-meaning lies of bitter old man, because you have to. because it's the only way you know how to survive, and the only way anyone thrives. I'll tell you one thing, kid. I've watched so many of your friends, so many people who have touched and passed through your life, give up hope. I've seen them sit and settle, cast risk of the wind, and marry caution, marry boredom, marry grey and galing world devoid of any dreaming. Hold on to your dreams, kid. Hold on to your hope, and every time it explodes in your face, pick up the pieces, put them together, and carry on walking. Because, kid, hope is a minefield. Hope is no man's land. It's a terrifying, deadly journey beyond the veil. And most will warn you against it. Where there be hopes, there be demons, they'll say. Better turn around, better go the other way, better play it safe. Don't listen to them. Someone's got to do it, kid. Someone's got to walk the minefield and keep on hoping it'll end. So keep on keeping on, no matter how bad it gets. If I could tell you anything, it'd be the lie I've seen the other side. That I know for a fact the minefield ends. I sure wish someone was telling me that right now. But they're not. All I have is hope. So that's all I can give you. A dead mind sent back through time. Not a warning or a wisdom. Just a sign. Hasn't gotten better. But it hasn't. It's not over yet.
If I could tell my younger self,
If I could tell my younger self anything, well, that's a bit of a loaded question, isn't it? You've a real star, you know, kid. And I mean that from the bottom of our hearts. You cause so many silly problems and you don't even know it, which is completely fine and natural. And they don't matter one little bit, even if Mum shouts a bit too loud sometimes. You aren't responsible for the shortfallings of those in charge of you. You just aren't. It sucks to tell you, as I know what you're going to face in your personal life and in the world around us. And what's it will be in charge of some pretty hefty guns. There's a flag in the back of your cupboard that's obsolete in a few years, as it doesn't have the brown and black stripes. Not to mention that degree you won't physically finish in the theatre. You'll wish you invested in Zoom shares, and that you'd hugged people more. I'm being serious. You really will. Don't laugh at me. That's for your teenage us to do. You can trust this to tell you when someone is wrong. Well, we have a good head on our shoulders, and don't let anyone else tell you otherwise. A lot of what you are going to be told about yourself is a lie. And I know that's so scary. I know how big and scary things are, and I know you just want to be safe. And I promise you, the safest decision in this world you can make is to trust in yourself. There is more beauty, more love, more kindness, and other things you can't even imagine yet to come. There are going to be some people you will lose, and it would be wrong for me to tell you who. I know surprises haven't been our favourite thing for a while, but I don't want you worrying. Just know that you will mend, you will find love again, you will find all the things you think you've lost, and when you think you've lost your Nintendo DS, it's in the shoe rack. I love you.
If I could tell my younger self.
I could tell my younger self. If I could tell my younger self. I'd tell myself to not forget about food, and they'd know what I mean. I'd sit myself down in front of my mum's pantry and point to a tin of beans. I'd keep pointing until I'm questioning myself as to why I'm pointing to a stupid tin of beans. And clearly, I'd say, that's better than cheese, you lactose freak. I mean, seriously. Please start looking after your body, as IBS and an intolerance do not mix. When did I forget about the joys of fish fingers, chips and beans, or peanut butter on jam sandwiches? Lest we forget, and you do, those smiley face potatoes. When did life revolve around what is the fanciest thing I can find in the reduced section of weight rolls while I wait for my train? Fish fingers take 20 minutes in the oven to cook from frozen. And that damn poison stuffed red pepper with couscous is so far gone you'd be stuck on the loo regardless. Make better choices, Tracy. Please, for the sake of our ass. I don't know if it stems to the need for us to feel like an adult, but for God's sake, please bring your own water bottle to work. Reuse the glass bottle that used to hold that overpriced sliver of tonic water you got in a hurry. And don't put fruit in it. It barely does anything. Unless it's chopped and your co-workers do not appreciate the sight of your fingers deep into the water bottle trying to fish out a clump of banana because you skipped lunch again. I guess I'd tell my younger self that just because you're a grown-up with your own money to spend does not mean you can spend it on the things what mum deprived you of, because she didn't. Think back to the meals you used to come home to after school. The smell, the sight, unfortunately, the washing up, but evidently her. Call mum, will you? It's not as often as you think. And maybe you can bring her something nice next time you see her. Something other than potato croquettes from...
If I could tell my younger self.
If I could tell my younger self anything, I'd say you'll remember this day for the rest of your life. And you'll remember it wrong for the rest of your life too. You'll remember how everyone laughed at you. You'll remember the noise of it. And how it was hellish. That's how you remember it. But you'll remember it wrong. You remember that tiny brown creature with a pushed-in eye, drinking from the sugar bowl that you tipped out and refilled with fresh water. But it didn't. It was already dead. Or nearly. If I could say to my younger self anything, I'd say, you'll remember the sounds of everyone laughing at you. And they did. You remember how you couldn't see for shaky, hot tears. And how nobody was there to comfort you. No one. You'll remember that, right? I didn't see it happen. My uncle was out on the tractor and it ran out in front of him. But he saw it too late and it was crushed under the wheel that was taller than me. I'd say to my younger self to be prepared. You're 6 now.
and you'll be teased every day forever about this. You'll be told that you're too sensitive, weak, snivelling, pathetic. Why are you crying about a baby rabbit when people are dying every day in horrible ways? It was just a baby rabbit. I tell my younger self, I know and you know, it wasn't just a baby rabbit. It was a baby rabbit that you tried to help and you couldn't. It was the fear that ripped into your little heart when your daddy was sobbing and screaming uncontrollably on the floor. It was your mum shushing you out. It was your grandma screaming in your face. What a snivelling wreck of a girl you were, and that she'd be better off dead. It was knowing your granddad was never coming back. I'd say to her nothing you did that day was wrong. You're not too sensitive. You're not weak. You did what nobody else did that day. You tried to help, but you couldn't. It wasn't your fault. And your tears aren't weak. They make you into a strong and powerful girl. And one day, little one, they'll make you into a strong and powerful woman.
If I could tell my younger self something, I'd say to her, fitting in is a fucking trap. I said it. Yeah, I said it. Fitting in is a curse. Okay, so you don't realise it is when you're young, like 16 or whatever, and you're desperately trying to fit in. You see other people going to these cool parties or dating this hot person or that hot person, or all their big nights out with the lads, with the girls, which are messy. And you see that on your phone, sitting in your pyjamas, drinking tea, and you're like, why aren't I on one of those messy nights out with those girls? Why am I not dating Joe? God, he's so hot. His facial hair would make a serious mess of me down there, if you know what I mean. And why am I not dating Helena? My God. Well, because she's 100% heterosexual and only interested in huge muscly men that make her life a misery. Like Steroid Dan. And she's beautiful, right? But she is into a whole lot of shit I'm not into, so that wouldn't really go anywhere. Right? Right. Right. And you know, Steroid Dan. God, when I think of the times I tried so hard to fit in, because you think that if you don't fit in, there's actually something wrong with you. And worse than that, you think that other people think there's something wrong with you. And worse than that even, is that you think that other people think that you think that they think that something's wrong with you. The only thing that is wrong with you is spending time and money and effort trying to fit in. Joe is trying to knob this girl that I work with, and Helena's getting ready for a date with Steroid Dan by getting her pubic hair shaped into the Playboy bunny. I had a postcard from a friend once that said, "Well-behaved women seldom make history." And I thought, yeah, that postcard is 100% right. That postcard gets me. I'm not a well-behaved woman. I don't spend my disposable income on interestingly shaped pubic hair. I do what I bloody well want with it and fuck everyone else. I mean, right now it's in the shape of the Playboy bunny. And Joe, he's so funny. Oh my God. Look, he's just posted this picture of him on a plane with Helena. Oh. Guess that's not gonna happen. That is so itchy. There's a bloody bunny ears. Ugh. Well-behaved women seldom make history. Well, I'm the first one to shave the Playboy bunny ears off my vagina. Fuck that guy.
If I could tell my younger self.
If I could tell my younger self that love would find me, then maybe I could cut out all those years of heartache. All that time spent grasping at boyfriends and girlfriends, thinking that they would be the last person who'd want to be with me. Thinking a breakup would mean eternal loneliness. All those hours spent swiping left and right, talking into a void, copying and pasting the same message to different people, just to keep up with those lukewarm conversations. Days spent under the duvet, wishing I could be someone who someone else could love. All those moments when I sucked my stomach in, hoping that someone would love me if I just lost another stone. Thinking I'd finally get that thigh gap. If I could grow my hair a few inches longer, I'll make my boobs a few sizes bigger. I'll be sweeter, or sharper, or more whimsical. If I could stop saying if and when, hoping that next year would be different. Hoping that the next date would be the one. Not another awkward conversation. A one night stand after a bit too much gin. And then the messages stop. A different kind of spirit. I know, it's so easy to say it now. So easy to say it out loud with all this confidence. But when you're stuck in a whirlwind of boys, girls, dates, love and booze, it's like the only path that you can envision out is for someone to fall in love with you. Thinking about it, if a 20-something me was confronted by a now me, as in me,
Well, firstly, I'd freak the fuck out. But would I listen? Would I take note from a wilted reflection of myself, telling me to not date Trevor, who I'll meet at a bar in Hackney, because after 3 years he'll cheat on me and shatter my heart and I'll get signed off from work from the stress of it all? And would I really listen to this wilted copy of myself, urging me to stop texting Beth, who's not really into girls. She's just using me for the thrill. I'd try to convince me and myself that I'm just using her, that I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm not even looking for a relationship, I'd say, and slam the door on my old, concerned face. Because that's what it was.
Just convincing myself. Looking past all the lies. Tucking them in my pocket. Hiding them in that kitchen drawer of clutter that you'll never touch.
But I knew. Of course I knew.
So why would I listen to myself when I've never listened to myself? Is there anything I could say to convince myself to stop convincing myself?
That I was dating people who weren't right for me, just so I was dating someone.
So I'd be telling myself something that I already knew.
Maybe
I could tell myself about you. Yeah, you. Oh, that's it.
And how you tumbled into my world just after I turned 30. And how you were everything. How I've never had to use one of those apps again. How I've never worried about feeling unloved ever since.
If I could just tell my younger self, that youthful, hopeful firework of a girl, that there was no need for all those tears all them years. That love would just fall into my life without me even trying to grab the delicate strings of it. With no questions or hesitations, and absolutely no red flags to pretend I didn't care.
And that the love would be full and extraordinary and perfectly imperfect.
If I could just tell her to be patient.
And that you're out there.
Then maybe I would have lived more. Maybe I would have written that book. Learned Japanese and spent more nights in on my own. Warm company. I wouldn't have hated myself so consistently. Maybe I would have learned to love more. Love every fresh morning, knowing that it would only be a matter of time.
Until I met you.